Hey Sneak Peekers, I'm Grace.
And I'm Kate.
Welcome to our second episode of the school year.
We have a lot to get into today, so let's get started.
I don't know about you, Kate, but I did a lot of binge watching during the quarantine last year.
Oh, I definitely did a lot of binge watching. One show that I especially enjoyed was Tiger King.
I was hooked on Tiger King. And speaking of which, Netflix recently announced that Tiger King has been renewed for a second season.
I saw that announcement. The release date has been set for November 17th.
So all of you Joe Exotic fans, get excited.
In other news, the iconic late-night sketch show Saturday Night Live has a new season starting very soon. The first episode will air on October 2nd with Owen Wilson as the host and Casey Musgraves as a musical guest.
Yes, I saw that. I love Owen Wilson and Casey Musgraves, so I'm very excited. And I can't believe it'll be the show's 47th season.
It's been going on for a long time. Sadly, though, the show will be returning without one of its longtime cast members.
That's right. Beck Bennett will be leaving SNL after joining in 2013.
This announcement was confirmed on Bennett's Instagram, where he stated, "Gonna miss you so much. Thank you for 8 years of remarkable people and incredible experiences that completely changed my life. I had so much fun."
It'll be sad to see him go, but as I said, I'm very excited for this next season.
We need to have a watch party or something for the first episode, and maybe the second and third episodes as well, since Kim Kardashian and Rami Malek were also announced as hosts.
For sure. And Kate, I don't know about you, but I have been obsessed with Bachelor in Paradise this season.
Okay, I haven't been watching, but I've heard so much about it on social media, and I've never been more confused.
Well, how about we just let Hunter give us the recap for this season of Bachelor in Paradise?
I think that sounds like a good idea. Take it away, Hunter.
Hey Sneak Peekers, this is Hunter Yasway, your resident Bachelor recapper, and I'm back to talk about my favorite show right now, Bachelor in Paradise. Since it has been a long, full season already, I struggled with the best way to recap what's happened. I thought I could try to go episode by episode, or person by person, but ultimately I thought I'd count down my top 10 thoughts from this season 7 of Bachelor in Paradise. Coming in at number 10 is the inclusion of 4 new guest hosts. While Lance Bass, Titus Burgess, and Little John were all fun, David Spade stood out the most, as he truly felt like a super fan getting the opportunity to host. His jokes really hit, and he seemed like he was having fun, which made me have fun. He perfectly fit the silly, over-the-top nature of Bachelor in Paradise. Number 9 feels like something that's necessary to state, and then I'll move on. But someone behind the scenes this season loves food in an uncomfortable way, and I did not need to see tacos being eaten off people's bodies. Number 8 goes to everyone's favorite hot mess, Tajwan. Taj provided so much levity and comedy this season that I was truly sad when she removed herself from Paradise. Taj was also the center of one of the most shocking and strange reveals, that she had gone on a date with Trey's uncle. Thankfully, she told Trey he was a better kisser than his uncle. In the end, they sadly couldn't get past the weird stuff and make it work, so they both self-eliminated. As for number 7, I'll spotlight another favorite of mine, and that's Box Boy James. James faced a truly bizarre twist early on, as he thought he was forming a connection with Victoria P. before it was revealed that she came with a boyfriend, and also that people pee outside in Louisiana. I don't know. She fell apart quickly. But after that, he struggled to make a connection until recently. He seems now to be trying to form a connection with Tia. And as some guy named Blake was just a total jerk to Tia last episode, you can bet on James getting her rose tonight. All I know is I want poor James to find love, because he seems like such a nice guy. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I'll briefly touch on one of my least favorite contestants for the 6th spot, and that's Jasenia. My problem with Jasenia largely lies with her hypocrisy. Early on, Jasenia and Ivan seemed to be a really strong, steady couple. That was until Chris Conran showed up and took Jasenia on a date. Almost overnight, it seemed like she went from being all in on Ivan to being head over heels for Chris, leaving Ivan cold and even being openly affectionate to Chris in front of Ivan. So imagine my lack of sympathy when Chris does the same thing to her and makes out with Alana in front of Jasenia. I was even further frustrated with the situation when the collective seemed to bully Chris and Alana off the beach, not even allowing Alana to share her side of the story. All that to say, don't get upset when Chris leaves you for a girl he knew before the show, when you left Ivan for a guy you knew before the show. Not cool, Jasenia. For number 5, let's talk about 2 of the strongest and most loyal couples of Paradise. First, Noah and Abigail. I don't have much to say about them because, well, they've been together since day one. Neither person has gone on another date, and they seem happy. I thought the pairing was odd at first, but they really seem sweet together. The other couple I'll include here is Marissa and Riley. While Marissa originally had a short-lived romance with Connor B, as soon as Riley hit the beach, that was all over. The fireworks were immediately there between Marissa and Riley, and they have been solid ever since. Now let's get into the more complex spot for the number 4 spot. And before I get into the insanity of former Bachelorette Becca being on the show, this story must begin with Tammy and Aaron. When the show began, Tammy and Aaron seemed like a solid pairing. That was until Thomas showed up. For those of you who didn't watch Katie's season, Thomas and Aaron are mortal enemies, and Thomas was the bad boy villain of the season. So Aaron was immediately upset that Thomas was on the beach. He was even more upset when he saw Thomas making out with Tammy. Just like that, Tammy and Aaron were over, and now it was Tammy and Thomas. That only lasted briefly, though, because as fast as Tammy dropped Aaron, Thomas dropped Tammy for the hottest commodity of paradise, former Bachelorette Becca Kufrin. It still shocks me that she is even on this show, as she is the first former lead to come on Paradise. But she has been fun to watch, and she and Thomas have had a strong connection ever since. For number 3, I'll spotlight my favorite couple of Paradise, Grocery Store Joe and Serena P. While these two may seem like an odd pairing on the surface, they have truly been a delight to watch this season and to see fall in love with each other. They were able to form a connection fairly quickly and even got through Grocery Store Joe's ex, Kendall, trying to win him back and ultimately losing, making them possibly the strongest couple of Paradise and real fan favorites. At the number 2 spot, I would be remiss not to mention all that was Brendan and Piper. These two came into Paradise having already been in a relationship with each other. The biggest problem there was that Brendan came in week 1 and Piper didn't come in until episode 6, meaning that for weeks Brendan had to get his roses from someone else. So the entire show he was playing Natasha, making her feel like they had a connection just so he could get a rose and stay in Paradise. It's shady at best and absolutely despicable at the worst. I'm not upset that he and Piper are together. I'm genuinely happy those two beautiful people found each other. However, my heart breaks for Natasha and the fact that she spent so much time and effort on a relationship that was never going to work. It also even ended up souring what could have been a positive future connection with Dr. Joe. When Dr. Joe said, "My Brendan, Natasha's, Joe's, and my heart all shattered." What had to be number 1 on this list, though, is Kenny and all that he is, including his now prosperous relationship with Mari. When Kenny showed up on day 1 completely nude, I knew he was going to be a driving force of this season, and boy was I right. I believe if I had to spotlight one main person as the main character of this season, it would be either Grocery Store Joe or Kenny. Kenny largely because he had so many girls interested in him throughout the run of the show. From early romance with Mari, to him getting sucked into all that is Hurricane Demi, and even going on a naked volleyball date with a personal favorite of mine, Tia Booth. He's been a hot item. This all happened after Mari told him she was open for dates, which backfired because she never got asked on a date, and he got asked on a bunch. Thankfully, he returned to Mari in the end, and they both realized what they have with each other is stronger than anything they could have with anyone else. And that's all I have. With a 3-hour-long episode tonight, an engagement-filled finale next week, and a drama-filled after the final rose, there's still plenty of Bachelor in Paradise left, and I'm so here for all of it.
With everything on TV and a whole slate of new movies coming out, I don't even know what to watch anymore.
Me either, but luckily we have Emily here with us to talk about Fantastic Fest 2021 and her review of The Black Phone, which had its world premiere at the festival.
Hopefully it'll be a movie that I can add to my watch list. Let's hear what Emily has to say about it.
Hey sneak peekers, I've been lucky enough to attend Alamo Drafthouse Cinema's Fantastic Fest this year, which started on the 23rd and goes until Thursday. So far, I've seen some interesting shorts, feature films, and documentaries to say the least. But one movie I definitely enjoyed was Scott Derrickson's new horror film, The Black Phone. The film, which Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill adapted from Joe Hill's 2004 short story, takes place in Colorado in the late 1970s. Children have been going missing in a suburb of North Denver, and residents have nicknamed the kidnapper, played by Ethan Hawke, the Grabber. When Finney, played by Mason Thames, is kidnapped, he's locked in a soundproof basement with essentially nothing but a mattress and an old black phone on the wall, which the Grabber informs him does not work. However, the phone soon begins to ring, and Finney finds himself communicating with the dead, aka the Grabber's previous victims, as they try to help him stay alive and escape his captivity. Meanwhile, Finney's sister Gwen, played by Madeleine McGraw, has been searching for him using information and images she has been seeing in her dreams. Like he did in Sinister, Derrickson makes excellent use of strategic jump scares in a few places throughout the film. rather than creating jump scare after jump scare. He tends to focus more on creating an unsettling atmosphere and building suspense, which makes it all the more scary. Derrickson and Cargill also focus on character development throughout the film, which makes the audience really root for the protagonist. Speaking of which, my favorite character in the movie wasn't actually Finney, but rather Gwen, who Cargill described as sunshine in the apocalypse during the Q&A following the premiere. I wholeheartedly agree with this description of Gwen, and I think she's just an all-around interesting character. Her insults were also amazing, but I sadly cannot repeat them on air, and I don't want to spoil them for y'all either. I personally would love for Derrickson and Cargill to create a spin-off focusing on Gwen, but I don't feel like that would ever happen. Also, it would be wrong to not mention the performances in this film. In particular, child actors Mason Thames and Madeleine McGraw give excellent performances, and I certainly think they're actors to look out for in the future. Ethan Hawke, who doesn't normally play the villain, also gives a terrifying performance, which isn't surprising in the least. And Jeremy Davies and James Ransone are great as well, even though they don't appear on the screen for very long. Without giving anything else away, since the film isn't set to be released until January, I just want to say that as someone who isn't normally into horror movies, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed The Black Phone. I had gone into the movie blind since I hadn't read the short story and the trailer hadn't been released. The official poster wasn't even released until the morning of the premiere. So I really did not know what to expect going into this movie. Overall, though, I would give this movie a rating of 9 out of 10. The Black Phone is disturbing and terrifying and probably not good for some audiences. But if you're like me and can handle pretty much whatever's put before you, then I would absolutely give it a watch when it releases on January 28th, 2022.
Thanks for the review, Emily. I'm not normally a fan of horror movies either, but I'll definitely think about going to watch The Black Phone when it comes out.
But I definitely want to hear more about Fantastic Fest and see if there's anything else for me to watch.
Well, now we have Claire here to talk about a movie she watched that also premiered at the festival. So let's hear it, Claire.
Hey, sneak peekers. Just like Emily, I am so fortunate to have the opportunity to attend Fantastic Fest and explore so many great films. I have just one question for you all, though. What would you do if you were plagued by a mysterious force every day, but nobody believed you when you called for help? This is the exact predicament that Molly experiences in Knocking by Swedish director Frida Kempf, one of the films from Fantastic Fest that has kept my mind churning since its premiere last Friday. Following the death of her partner, Molly is admitted to a psychiatric hospital and spends an unspecified yet harrowing amount of time there. Despite still being haunted by flashbacks of the tragic moments of her partner's death, which audiences get a glimpse of in Knocking's opening scene, Molly is discharged from the hospital in hopes of returning to a normal life, at least one as normal that could be despite her recent loss. She takes some steps to liven up her daily routine, from buying loads of fresh fruit to adjust to a healthy diet, to decorating her less-than-homey apartment with new plants. But one evening, after caving in and calling her partner's old phone number to hear her voice message on the voicemail, Molly's routine gets completely turned on its head. A knocking at her apartment ceiling coming from a mysterious neighbor on the floor above. After questioning all of the residents living on that floor, Molly is immediately dismissed and faced with comments insinuating that she's insane. However, the knocking persists, and Molly continues to be the only apparent one that can hear it. The audience sees Molly endure nights upon nights of sleepless moments where this knocking quite literally drives her to insanity. From searching up how to listen to Morse code and decipher what the knocks mean, to consistently disturbing her upstairs neighbors, Frida Kempf does an eerily beautiful job of keeping the audience on their feet and questioning every little detail of each scene. Who or what is behind this knocking? Is there actually a knocking at her ceiling, or is this all in Molly's imagination? What really did happen or did not happen in the scenes we see as the audience? These are all questions I found myself asking until the very last moments of the film, and I assure that you'll be asking yourselves these same questions. Many current reviews of Knocking have critiqued Kempf on the reveal behind what the knocking really is, or isn't, claiming that it was drawn out too much and making the film painfully slow. However, I would argue the opposite. Each successive scene left me begging for more and allowed me to entertain myself by coming up with my own theories of what the knocking truly was before the grand reveal. I also can't help but applaud Cecilia Malocho, who portrayed Molly, for her truly captivating performance, pulling the audience in through her expressive facial expressions and impeccable betrayal of how it feels to be completely lost. Overall, I would give Knocking a solid 7.5 out of 10 and would definitely recommend checking it out when it's released digitally on October 19th.
Kate, I know I've said it before, but it really is crazy how many movies and television shows there are to watch right now.
I know, right? Where was all of this when the pandemic first started? I definitely needed it then.
I'm right with you on that. And honestly, with so many movies coming out and people wanting to go back to the theaters, it's easy to miss some of the best TV shows that are available for streaming right now.
That's why we have a whole panel for y'all tonight to discuss which streaming shows we should all be watching.
Let's get this panel started, Mason.
Hey Sneak Peekers, I'm here today with Timo, Sydney, Ryan, and Andrew to discuss everything that's streaming right now in terms of TV. Now, I'm kind of a novice on the subject, so I will be asking you all a ton of questions tonight. So, to get things started, I heard you're a bit of an expert on sex education, Sydney, since season 3 just came out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah? So, what are your thoughts on all of the new relationships that have been happening?
We definitely, as viewers, got a big treat this season. I would definitely say one of my favorites was Ruby and Otis. They carried until their unfortunate, spoiler alert, breakup and near the end of the season. That was a little sad, but we are opening the door for Maeve and Otis once again, but I don't think it's coming.
Oh.
Then we have Adam and Eric. Love the two of them. I really felt like their relationship developed really well over the course of the season, but unfortunately, again, I don't know where it's going after this because there was definitely not an honest relationship, let's just say that.
Oh.
Yeah. And then, but I feel like Jakob and Jean, I really see them going well together, raising their new baby together. They just really have this connection that I was really enjoying over this season. Yeah.
Definitely. Plenty of drama with that show, it seems.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of, do you have any thoughts on Hope?
Oh my gosh. I think like most people can agree, no one's a fan of Hope. Honestly, I feel for the woman. She's trying her best, but it's just not working for me. I just feel like she was a little unrealistic, to be honest, as a character. She was a little too evil, in my opinion. It just kind of took me out of the show. Sure.
Wow. Well, it sounds like a very fun time to watch. Very bingeable.
Yes,
Yes.
very. Watch it in one day.
Wow. Well, I will definitely have to add it to my watch list. And speaking of, something that's been on my list for the longest time has been You. Now, Andrew, I've heard you are kind of an expert on that show.
I've watched it about 4 times, yes.
Great. So, how did you feel about the end of season 2?
So, season 2 is crazy, but specifically the end really, got me going. So, at the end of season 2, we find out that Joe's love interest, Love, is just about as crazy as him, which means a lot, because Joe is Joe. And for some reason, it turns Joe away. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion here, but I feel like if you're like Joe and you've killed about 3 to 4 people, 1 or 2 murders from love can't really disgust you too much. But yeah, season 2 is crazy. I'm really excited for season 3.
What are your thoughts on the shift in the format?
Yeah, so I think season 3 is going to be really interesting because season 1 and season 2 followed kind of the same thing where Joe was pursuing one girl and that occupied all of the season. First season was Guinevere Beck. She was okay. Second season was Love. And love her. She was amazing. She was much more dynamic. She was just written a lot better. And she had less annoying qualities than Beck did. So I'm really excited for season 3 for them to stick with the same person and not go over the same first season, second season trope.
Yeah, it sounds really easy to get hooked to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I've also heard that Ted Lasso is super engaging.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I really love Ted Lasso. The first season, all 10 episodes, I watched it in about 5 hours. So in one sitting, I didn't get up at all to watch it. And I'm really enjoying the second season so far. It's aired in its entirety. I'm not entirely done, just have a couple episodes left to wrap everything up. But so far, really more of something that I like. It's an earnest show. It's not cynical, which I feel like is a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of other stuff. It took home a huge amount of Emmy nominations and a lot of wins, particularly in Outstanding Comedy. And Jason Sudeikis, of course, as the lead, took home another Emmy win. Well, I think it's really deserving because he is excellent and carries the show. And I'm interested to see where his character goes towards the end of season 2 and into season 3, which is I think it's actually fully written, and Apple is going to pay for it to get made, and that'll be the end. They're closing the whole story off after just 3 seasons, so we've got a full arc. There, I mean, some of the explorations of themes like mental health and therapy in a lighthearted comedy show are great to see, and I think it handles them well. And in the moment to moment, I find myself laughing fully out loud, cackling at the screen at some of the jokes and the gags, and even some of the cutaways are pretty funny all around.
Oh yeah, it'll be sad to see them end it, but sometimes that is what's best for a show.
Yep, I think it'll cause the whole thing to be a nice, complete package that, sometimes seasons on shows go on and on and on and on, and you're like, okay, maybe you should wrap it up. But they have the plan to just do 3 and be done with it.
Yeah, I know, Andrew, you've also seen Ted Lasso, right?
I have, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the show, the writing, the characters, everything is just so well made, and it deserves every Emmy it got. I wish there was like 300 seasons of the show. I do not want it to end at 3. I want to watch it until I'm dead.
Yeah, who knew we could be so interested in English soccer?
Yeah.
No, fun stuff all around, but I have a little bit more about What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows, first of all, an incredible show. It's based off of the 2014 film directed by now Academy Award winner Taika Waititi. And it's a mockumentary format similar to shows like The Office or Parks and Rec, but it is about vampires living in the New York borough of Staten Island. So you already know it's going to be incredible. It's really just, like Timo was saying with Ted Lasso, it really is such a breath of fresh air. There are a lot of comedies nowadays that take very mundane situations and turn them into comedic moments, which I love. But I love seeing a show like What We Do in the Shadows, which takes such a fantastical plot line, obviously vampires and werewolves and magic and all that kind of stuff like that. And instead of doing something serious like Game of Thrones or Lovecraft Country, it takes it in such a comedic way, and it's so refreshing. And I feel like there's an endless sea of ideas. It's not a show like Ted Lasso where 3 seasons we're done. I could watch What We Do in the Shadows until I die. I think that would be incredible. I think it's a show that has so much potential, and it's not one that's been super recognized. It got a bunch of Emmy nominations last season, but got swept out by Schitt's Creek, deservedly. Great show. But What We Do in the Shadows is also a great show, and I think it's very underrepresented. It's very underrecognized. Great cast, great gags. It really is just it's silly, and I like seeing silly things. I feel like it's just so nice to see, just having fun with it.
Yeah, I feel like something I've heard that's special about that show is the technical aspects.
Yes. Like we were saying about, workplace comedy, stuff like that, mundane situations, you don't really get to see production design, costumes, that kind of stuff, really done out of proportions. But with What We Do in the Shadows, obviously it's vampires and werewolves, so you get to see all of those kind of crazy effects, and they go, absolutely bonkers with it. It's so much fun. It really is just such a joy to watch, and the techno aspects specifically make it so much more fun because it's I don't know. It's just so much fun.
Well, thank you all so much for giving me all of these good things to watch. I am definitely adding them all to my list. So, thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Yes, thank you. I for sure need to catch up on everything being released. I just hope I have the time for it.
Me too.
Well, that's all we have for tonight, but be sure to join us next week to see what we have for y'all to add to your watch list.
And be sure to follow us on social media at Sneak Peek TV.
I'm Kate Bramlett.
And I'm Grace Corindy. See you next week, Sneak Peekers!